You have said that Brian Doobie is too conservative for Vermont on the social level. I believe that he is opposed to a woman's right to choose. Are you pro-choice, and in what other ways are you more liberal than Doobie?
Well, I'm unabashedly pro-choice. I will fight harder for a woman's right to choose than most other people, and I do every day. You know, people don't realize how often a woman's right to choose is compromised with proposals in the legislature. And it happens every year, and every year I've kept them from becoming law. And it's not that someone comes in and says, hey, let's, you know, repeal Roe versus Wade, because even Brian Doobie understands he's not going to do that. But it's the little nibbles, and they're big. It's the suggestion now, for example, it's happening in all the states that where state legislators require any woman choosing to terminate a pregnancy to have a sonogram first and have to look at the screen to know exactly what's going on. Of course, that's a goal to intimidate them from their decision. This is a big movement that's happening across America. The folks that are trying to remove a woman's right to choose are smart about how they're doing it. We've had examples this year in the legislature where, you know, we had proposals made that would have defined a fetus as a living person, which is what you need legally to attack a woman's right to choose. So I feel very strongly about that. Brian feels exactly the opposite. We'll have a respectful discussion about it because we like each other. You know, if I'm the nominee, you're not going to see a nasty campaign with Brian, because Brian and I are friends. We drink beer together. I've gone to he and Penny's house for dinner. We basically like each other. We just see the world very differently, so it'll be very much an issue-oriented discussion. But I think Brian will be the first statewide elected official who openly opposes and wants to repeal a woman's right to choose, perhaps in the history of Vermont. On the issue of marriage equality, he obviously opposes that too and would like to repeal it, I'm sure. But on other issues, you know, he believes that we should return to a school voucher system where you can use taxpayer dollars to fund religious schools. I just don't believe that the United States Constitution allows you to do that. When Brian was asked that on the radio recently, he said, well, I think my staff can find a way around that. I mean, you know, you have to be thoughtful about these issues. And I think what makes Vermont great, and why I'm so proud to be a Vermonter born and raised, is that we care about our neighbors, we care about our communities, and we accept people for who they are, regardless of what they are. And I don't think opposing marriage equality, opposing a woman's right to choose, is a part of that fabric.
Many people are concerned about the budget cuts mandated by the Challenges for Change bill. Would you like to say something about this budget deal?
Sure. The Challenges to Change was a great initiative that I believe was taken advantage of by an administration that wanted to cut instead of changing the way we deliver services. And let me just give you a little bit of background. We have a $4 billion budget in government, in state government. The state of Vermont's budget is roughly $4 billion, counting federal funds. In that $4 billion, there is tremendous inefficiency, as there is in any big budget. The idea of Challenges to Change was actually the Speaker and my idea to find ways to deliver the same services in a more efficient manner. And let me give you examples. Right now, the state of Vermont has roughly $225 million worth of outside contracts. In my business, outside contracts are usually performance-based. We say, you do this work, we want these outcomes, and we'll pay you this amount of money. None of the state government outside service contracts are performance-based because government's inherently inefficient. So all we said was, using that example, you get roughly 10% savings in performance-based contracts. If Vermont got 10% savings on our $225 million worth of outside contracts, right there is $25 million bucks, just in that one move. So all we said in Challenges to Change is, out of our $4 billion budget, let's take a teeny little nibble, $35 million, $38 million, governor and commissioners, secretaries go out and find that money and come back and get it done. Well, it went beautifully. We had some good consultants working together with us. When they came back, they basically plugged in a bunch of cuts that they wanted to do anyway. It wasn't about cutting. It was about setting your goals, measuring your outcomes to achieve those goals, and finding ways, the example I just gave you, to actually deliver the same services without wasting taxpayer dollars. I think it was a laudable goal. I don't think we'll find it results in cuts. I think we'll find it results in efficiencies. If it doesn't, it has to be approved by the Joint Fiscal Committee, which I serve on. We won't approve additional cuts if they hurt Vermonters. Instead, we'll say, new governor, go find the efficiencies that we hoped the old team would have found. But the notion that government can't find efficiencies in a $4 billion budget is just simply crazy. I mean, we've done this in business, in my business, and most businesses years ago. And it is time for government to modernize. The computer system alone in state government would absolutely boggle your mind. It is so extraordinarily inefficient. Let's just say, as a service receiver, that I am a single mom with 2 kids, that I get services for one of my kids who maybe is dyslexic, another kid who has emotional issues, and I get some help with food stamps and maybe health care. You have to go to at least 5 different agencies to get those services, and they can't talk to each other. So there's no computer technology that allows them to go, okay, you know, this particular individual has these 2 kids, they have these needs. How do we deliver services to them holistically so that they're not dealing with 4 or 5 different bureaucracies? There's an example of how government could transform and how I will transform it as governor. So it's not about cutting people's services. It's about making government do what the private sector did years ago, which is use technology and use common sense in delivering services, the same services, in a more efficient manner.